So I've been diagnosed with combined ADHD as well as other shit, PTSD, gang, Lamau, same. And when I'm unable to function like a normal person off my meds, it kind of just stings. Like, it upsets me that I need medication to work. I just want some advice about this hurdle during the Adderall shortage. Now that sucks. When I was, I've told people this already. When I was, a couple of years ago, when I was still living with my roommates, I obviously had ADHD, but I didn't know. And the doctors kind of stuck me on fluoxetine, an antidepressant. And what it would mean is that I was a little bit happier in my day-to-day, but then when I was off them, I was just absolutely miserable and just, couldn't get out of bed and was catastrophizing and terrified. And, coming off of them once you've been on is really, really, really difficult. And going through a shortage is terrible. But I think the best thing that I would say is that people who hold you to a higher standard because you struggle to function when you're off your meds, with respect, they don't get what it's like to be you. They've never walked a mile in your shoes. The thing about these issues, it's not just, ADHD is not just being lazy and disorganized, and PTSD is not just refusing to get over something. These are ways in which trauma or otherwise your neurology, your upbringing, a million different factors have contributed, not just to make you decide to act a certain way. No. Your brain is wired in a really specific way, hardwired, and changing that takes years and lots of very expensive treatment. This is a natural debuff that you are fighting through every day, and so am I. Needing medication does not make you weak. Needing medication is just a fact of life. And the people who, you need meds to function and it stings. This is true, but most people who would say, people with mental health problems should just suck it up or whatever it is. I feel like there's a lot less of these people now, but they do exist. They'd never say that's about someone with a physical impairment, would they? They'd never say that about someone who lost a leg. And yet, losing a leg, I would say is equal in some ways to some forms of trauma in the way that they also affect your mind. It's not just that you get, you get scared of one thing and then you in the future are also scared of that thing again. No, you went through something and your brain was so thoroughly affected by it that it changed its own pathways purely to make sure that you didn't wind up in that situation again. It's your brain's very radical way of trying to keep you safe. And the best thing that I think we can do is try to just adjust, because we've been raised in an environment where mental health does not carry the same weight as physical health. If someone loses a leg, it's terrible, of course, and they probably have been traumatized by it as well. But what happened to you, you shouldn't view that as any less than what they're dealing with. Just because a lot of people nowadays are being diagnosed with ADHD doesn't mean that it's any more difficult for any one person to deal with. It doesn't mean that it's any easier for someone to deal with than anything else. Lots of people are suffering at the moment, and you're one of them. And needing medication doesn't make you weak. It's just a part of the challenges that you face. You should think of it less like, it's going to sound stupid. You should think of it less like you're, weak and just trying to get by. Think of it as though you're running life on a challenge run, You're doing like that Dark Souls Broken Sword run, where you're putting up with the exact same things that everyone else is putting up with. You have to deal with paying your rent. You have to deal with finding something to eat. You have to deal with your friendships, your relationships, finding a job, considering whether your job is right for you. You have to worry about school. Every single thing that everyone else is stressed and worried about, you are too. But you're also dealing with this whole other thing that is so strong and so debilitating that these industries, these medical industries, have spent decades researching these pills purely to treat what you have. If it wasn't important and it wasn't devastating in the way that it is, those pills would never have been made, because there would be no need to. But there is, and you're why. Okay? Believe in the impact of what you suffer from, because just because some other people think that you're weak for being unable to get past this without your medication doesn't mean that you are. You have an unnatural debuff, and that is something that you are strong for having been able to deal with. Okay? I'm going to say it, you're stronger than the average person who doesn't have to deal with this, because you have to put up with so much on top of all of this, and that's pretty damn cool. So, just keep going, okay? And remember that when your ADHD symptoms kick in and you feel unable to move because of task paralysis, when your PTSD symptoms kick in and you suddenly have a panic attack even though nothing's gone wrong, think to yourself, this isn't my fault. This is just my life, and this is what I have to deal with. And for getting past this, for getting beyond it, and continuing to live my life in spite of what has happened to me, and what will continue to happen to me, I am strong. Stronger than most, and you should believe that. Okay?